Hi guys, welcome to the New Year's Impressions banner. I'm actually not doing this before the New Year, but we have a sneak peek of what's to come on the New Year, so here it is. We kind of already knew this was coming due to a data mine, but I want to actually treat it as if we get it as a release, so even though I kind of know the stats and the skills coming up and what units they are, I will treat it like I usually do with my impression videos and give you my honest thoughts on these units and how they affect the meta. So we'll do that. One thing I'm gonna just mention is I will not talk about their stats in this video or builds or anything like that. That is saved for the comparisons, unit analysis video, which should be done within a few days. Probably the day after tomorrow, it'll be on the channel. So if you're looking forward to that, just wait for that one. But this will be more or less looking at the skills and what sort of implications they have on the endgame meta for Fire Emblem Heroes. And of course, when I say endgame meta, I'm talking about Arena, Ether Raids, and to a lesser extent, stuff like Abyssals or other PvE content. So let's jump into it, shall we? Trying new traditions for a new year.
Never worn anything quite like this before. How do I look?
Oh no, she's back. And no matter what I do, I'm sure she'll end up in my barracks somehow. She always does. Okay, well, no surprise to anybody. She's apparently a green bow, fitting in the theme of Legendary Lyn, so they can both roll around in their colored bow shenanigans. What is cool though is she is a new unit type, so it is technically a new unit combination with a movement type. It's a green bow flyer, so that's pretty cool. The art design is also pretty cool. I like the feel for it. You have a little bit of Hoshiden kind of style, of course, and you have your Niffle badge there. I like it. It's pretty cool. I like the OCs getting attention like this. It just really shines. Let's actually look at the skills. So she's riding a chicken. Cool. Her base kit actually comes pretty built, good to go. So that's kind of cool. You don't really even need to change anything on her. Her weapon type is brand new and it's inheritable to others. And I do appreciate this. Kabura, yeah, plus, of course, the plus indicating that it will be inheritable, is pretty much a chill speed weapon. And that's really useful if you combine it with somebody who might be using C-dual infantry in Arena. It's just having somebody with a inheritable chill speed on a weapon is pretty good. Plus it'll be refined. So I can appreciate that. If you were using maybe someone like Niles who doesn't have a weapon refined, totally no bias when I say that, or Rebecca, then they can appreciate these kind of weapons. Otherwise, you're kind of forced into some sweet poison strike builds, and this just gives you some variety. Attack speed link, again, a very good skill. Most notable that I can remember would be Halloween Niles. Attack speed bond, which I think is confirmed to be a seal coming up in the Tempest Trials. So good skills overall. And even Reswave, which previously was on Brave Hector. So you got some really good fodder options here. Nothing brand new, but still solid. I think the bow is definitely the winner here. She's probably gonna be pretty good.
Peace is a wonderful thing, but without strength, peace cannot be sustained.
Okay, so it's kind of interesting. When I see something like this, I always feel like the voice actors are contracted to do multiple voice lines within one sitting. So since Hrid was recently released, they may have actually, well, I feel like they definitely did contract the Hrid voice actor to do his hero, all the voice lines, and this alt at the same time. So it's interesting to see this because it probably implies when you see so many alts of a certain character, how many voice lines did they do in advance from that voice actor? That's the first impression that comes to me. I don't know why. As for Hrid, I don't really care too much because I don't have any sort of relations to the character. I've never pulled him and he didn't really do much in book 2. That's my opinion though. I'm sure there will be plenty of people who say, but he's hot, and that's perfectly fine. I understand, but it's not for me. Red Sword Flyer. So not a role that's taken. which likely means that I'd probably be comparing him to somebody like Pala or Sheeta based on his stats. Okay, so he comes with an inheritable red sword, which is chill attack on it, and that's huge. And the reason that's huge is because red swords have not really had like supportive weapons other than Karamatsu, which was also a previous seasonal weapon on the previous New Year batch of units. So that he brings this sort of weapon to the table is huge. It gives red swords another option for supporting, and that's really good. Otherwise, you're pretty much forced to use like Marth or Corrin, and it's just nicer maybe if you wanted to use somebody else. Maybe if you want to use Soleil with this weapon, that's now officially an option. He comes with attack defense bond. This is actually become pretty common on a lot of units. I feel like Fjorm and Summer Young Tiki and Adrift Male Corrin, I think. Like these, a lot of units start coming with this now, so this might become our new Swiss Sparrow for tanky units. Comes with QR3, so that's a matter of saving 20k feathers. But what is most notable here is the brand new Hone Attack 4 skill. Now, we've seen 4th level skills for a while, so this isn't a huge surprise. One thing I'm thankful for is if you do get this, you don't necessarily need something as rare as Silas to fodder off, because Silas was the only way to get Steady Stance 4 if you pulled Surtur. So Hone Attack 4 is cool. It goes up to 7 attack though, so that's a pretty big jump from 4 to 7. It doesn't affect him himself, and of course, as most people already are aware, this synergizes really well with the brand new legendary Azura, who, if she's carrying it, not only is just kind of carrying a better attack tactic, just because you don't have so many limitations, but you actually buff 7 to all stats with her prayer wheel effect, which is insane. It's also really good for a lot of other reasons, like AoE mages and such are really going to benefit from an extra point of attack, and overall just makes the game far, like, there's a lot more power going around because of a skill like this, which brings the level of power up a bit.
This weapon is strange. Laevatein is better.
Yeah, I don't know if I would carry around an owl to whack people either, Laevatein. She's a cavalry healer, so the previous one we've gone before this would have been Nana. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Seasonal units all come packed with skills, so that makes sense. She's bringing a brand new staff, Kumare Plus, which is a supportive staff that doesn't require attacking, but it does have a condition that it does hit the highest defense unit. So again, that's a little bit inconsistent, but pretty good when you usually have it affect like the last unit on the team. Beyond that, she doesn't really bring much to the table. I mean, she's Wrathful Staff fodder, but you can get this on a few other units by now. But the staff is definitely the most interesting thing. And that's like the common factor when you look at brand new units. It's always like brand new seasonal units. Seasonal units, I think the most important thing to consider foddering them for should pretty much always be their exclusive skills or exclusive weapons, because those don't, like, very rarely come onto like other banners. The one case that I can think of is like Candlelight turning into Flash, right? That's like the rare case where a seasonal weapon becomes into the permanent pool. So these are like the things that you should look for when looking at these skills, and that's pretty much it. The units themselves are going to be comparable to what you already have as options in the game. Like, of course, you might not need Laevatein because you might already have a merged Clarine, Priscilla, or Nana, for instance, just to give it some. You guys see Fe over here? Look at her. Look at Fe. Look, she's holding Fe. It's like snow or maybe a marshmallow Fe. Okay, so Gunnthra is here. Red Sword Flyer again, which means I'm not really too impressed. It's not, like, honestly, the winner from this banner has to be Fjorm just for being unique. And that's saying something, because we already are experienced with Legendary Lyn and how she approaches things, and obviously Greenbow might not be the best thing. So as a unit and movement type, Gunnthra and Hrid are both pretty disappointing, and so is Laevatein to an extent. The only thing that carries them is a bunch of numbers, like a bunch of stats, and that's as good as it gets. However, she has a preference weapon. So preference weapon is definitely one way to set yourself apart from other Red Sword Flyers, for a couple of reasons. One, red dual flying means it is better on someone like her than it would be on, let's say, NY Camilla, because NY Camilla doesn't have a preference weapon, or Hrid. Now, actually, with these new level 4 skills, like Join Hone Speed and Hone Attack 4, A non-preference weapon unit can score the same as one that has a preference weapon. This is actually possible, but you need to give them distant counter, and you need to give them a level 4 skill to do that, which is really high investment compared to someone like this who just needs like that and they're already good to go with like our dual. I guess our dual flying in that could do it, but you don't need to have like this here in the C slot to score as much. Either way, she doesn't come with anything too impressive. This is like the 13th unit with Swift Sparrow. Glimmer is pretty available fodder. Desperation, actually, I kind of think this is okay. And the reason I think it's okay is because Shanna's still the only unit that comes with this. So if your unit is speedy, then yeah, you kind of save yourself a Shanna here. And of course, joint, hone, speed. This is kind of like a wave skill, but actually consistent, meaning you don't have to rely on odd or even turns. My experience using wave skills has always been pretty disappointing, especially when you have a turn limit like on Ether Raids, where you're like, well, I kind of need the speed wave to buff on this turn. Give me the speed buff, please. Okay, I just wasted a turn waiting for the speed buff. You know, like it's just not really that good. So something like this is awesome. I think it's honestly like these joint skills, if they become more available in the future, will definitely be very useful, especially if the unit itself needs it, like a joint hone attack maybe. Okay, so let's actually look at Hikami and what it means. So it gives extra speed and it gives a bunch of debuffs on the nearest foes within 4 spaces to the next actions. So this is like a super threaten within a super high range, which is pretty good, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Like, for example, if you already have debuffers on the team, you don't necessarily get much value out of this. Like, let's say you already had a Versa. With a Versa's Knight, you're pretty much accomplishing almost the same thing without the HP requirement being a condition, and a Versa does have the advantage of not having to be within 4 spaces, because if you're within 4 spaces of something, then you're at risk of dying, especially to like cavalry units. Like in Ether Raids, you probably don't have any use of this because you'll just get sniped by somebody like Reinhardt or Bolin. And then for Arena, I'd say it's pretty good. Like it is pretty good, but then at the same time, you probably should have somebody running either ploys in relevant stats, like speed or defense or attack, for instance, and they'll take care of it with even bigger debuffs like -7. So while this is really good, wherever you use it, it doesn't really hold up its value, and honestly I see it only being good maybe in like abyssal content or PvE content where you just kind of have Gunnthra do her own job solo. But when you consider team comps, this doesn't really fit in anywhere useful. It's just solid and nothing really more. That guy's holding a Hygoida. Okay, so the banner lasts a whole month. So you know what I'm going to say about this. With banners that last a long time, you want to give yourself time. You want to give yourself time to make a good decision. So what I always say is you don't necessarily pull on day one, because this banner will overlap with different banners, and most likely even with a beast banner coming up, and definitely the legendary banner in the January. At the end of January. So this gives you plenty of time to make a decision if you do like these units, or maybe you like the fodder, to say, hey, do I really need this now, or can I make a decision between this and something that comes later? I'll do the mathematics when I do my comparison analysis should you pull video, but generally speaking, most of this stuff is just like nice and pretty much just appealing for like if you just like the characters, and the weapons are good, but they're not necessarily like amazing. I think like Legarn as the free Tempest Rouse unit coming up is already going to be good enough if you want some sort of support. I mean, she comes with chill res as a B scale and like a chill defense lance, which is amazing. So, you know, those are already pretty good options that don't really take any orbs from you. That's pretty much my thoughts on it. The only unit that's really unique on this banner is Fjorm, which is kind of weird for me to say, but that really is the brand new weapon movement type here. And Hrid and Gunnthra are both Red Sword Flyers, which you probably already have a Sheeta. If you don't already have a Sheeta or Pala built, you should consider doing that. And Laevatein, while we don't have a lot of cav healers, a lot of the other cav healers can be merged and comparable in stat spreads in their own ways. That's pretty much my take on this banner. We'll look at the stats tomorrow. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this banner and how you're going to approach it, or maybe save for like a legendary banner. Maybe that's an idea. Let me know what you want to do with these units if you plan to get them at all, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.